how should you be adjusting your treatment if you are in the perimenopause or menopause and you end up with tendonitis? Well, the good news is that your body can still produce new collagen and strong collagen. It just takes a bit longer to do that. So all the treatments that works for general tendonitis or tendinopathy are still valid. Your plan may just have to ramp up more slowly, and you're just going to have to be a little bit more patient with it. But there are 3 treatments that I want to highlight that may be more useful for women in the perimenopause or menopause. I'll get to them in a moment. But if you've got a specific type of tendonitis, so a specific area like gluteal tendinopathy or high hamstring, maybe you've got tib post tendonitis, have a look at the description of this video, because we've made detailed videos about what the best load management, strength training, general advice and treatments for that specific tendon is, because there are differences obviously in the types of activities that annoy them and all of those things. So have a look at the description of this video. I'll put a link to our general libraries on our website, because that's quite easy to then find the information. But we also have video playlists, so I'll link those there as well. The 3 treatments I want to highlight for women in any stage of the menopause are strength training and how to adapt that, as well as supplements and hormone replacement therapy. So if we look at strength training first, why is that important? Well, loading the tendon is the only way really to signal to the body to produce new and stronger collagen fibers. But I don't want you to picture lifting heavy weights or doing heavy exercises when I say this, because during the early stages of the tendon, especially when it's still painful, that is not what loading and strength training looks like. It is very light exercises usually, because the exercises you do has to match, one, the strength of your tendon plus the sensitivity of the tendon. If the exercise is too intense for that moment in time, you will just experience a flare-up. And it's important that if your exercises do flare your pain up and your symptoms up significantly, you need to tell your physio, because your rehab plan needs to be adjusted. So don't just stop everything and think that exercise is not for me, I'm going to try other things and I'm never going to come back to it. You do have to come back to it at some point. And that's why you need to tell your physio, so that they can adjust your plan and understand that it needs to start at an even lower level. It's also important to understand that if your tendon pain flares up with minor exercise and things, it doesn't mean it's very weak. Not at all. Usually the tendon is quite strong. It's just super sensitive, and it just goes into hyper mode, especially because it's so easy to increase the inflammation during any stage of the menopause. So don't be worried if you can do very little at the start. That's absolutely normal, and it's part of the load management we teach our patients. So as a standard part of what we teach our online patients is to understand what level of discomfort means that they're training in the right level, because there is a certain amount of discomfort that is absolutely fine and expected. You can't expect to be pain-free when you start with activities. It's the activities that will actually get you to the pain-free stage. So you need to understand what level of discomfort is okay. We teach them to look at the 24-hour pain response and symptom response, because often tendons don't tell you while you're busy with an activity that they're not happy with it. They love flaring up, especially the next day, and then you go, oh man, now I'm really stiff and uncomfortable, and it takes 2-3 days to recover from a session. Those are signs that whatever you did on the day before, it was too much and it needs to be adapted. So again, it's something your physio needs to help guide you on. And it doesn't mean that exercise is wrong. It just means that the type or the intensity wasn't ideal. Supplements is not a treatment we would advise everybody with tendonitis or tendinopathy to take. And the reason is that the research into supplement usage and recovery from tendonitis is not that strong yet. There are a few studies out there that suggest if you take hydrolyzed collagen, and especially if it's mixed with a bit of vitamin C, before you do your exercises, that you may get a better strengthening effect of the tendon. And the thinking is that it's because you have more of the building blocks readily available in the system. So because we know that your tendons struggle to repair in the menopause, then it may be more useful for anybody in menopause. We've previously done a very detailed video as well as article about supplements and how it was used in these studies. So I'm going to link to the article in the description of this video because I feel it could be useful to see it written out, that you understand the exact dosages that was used. Hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, is definitely something to discuss with your doctor if you do struggle with your tendons flaring up. It's not right for everybody, and you can absolutely recover without it. So don't think I'm saying you won't recover if you don't take it, but it may perhaps help. The problem is, it's also not well researched. I could only find 2 studies. In the one, they looked at the Achilles tendon of 53 women, scanned them, and the women on HRT had fewer signs of tendon structural issues than the ones that weren't. Then there's a study where they looked at women with gluteal tendinopathy, and this was a stronger study. It was a randomized controlled trial, and they looked at what happened. Was there any difference in treatment outcomes for the women on HRT versus the ones who weren't on it? And an interesting finding with this one, that if they looked at the full groups, there wasn't much difference in the groups. But then they noticed that if the BMI of the women, so the body mass index, was below 25, the HRT did help. But for the women who had a higher body mass index, so was a bit more overweight, the HRT didn't have such a dramatic effect and wasn't much more effective than the women who weren't. And this just points for me to the fact that we should never see treatment and our bodies as a cause and effect, that this will definitely fix this or have this impact, because it works as a full system. And in the women who had the higher BMI, it may be that the other hormone changes they had because of being overweight kind of negated the positive effect of the HRT. We don't know. There hasn't been enough research in this area yet. But it's worth remembering that it's about looking at the full picture and understanding all the components that may be influencing your case of tendonitis and addressing as many of them as you can. And this is something that we definitely help our patients understand as well, because we find it doesn't work just focusing on the tendon, because it's not the tendon in isolation. You have to look at everything they do in their life.